and welcome to First Chair Fantasy. I'm Lucy, and joining me in the second chair, which is actually the second half of the sofa today, is Nich Angell.
Hello!
And today we're going to be talking about Ready Player One,
Yeah.
the Ernest Clines novel from 2011. We're giving it a bit of a pass. It's technically not a fantasy novel. It's technically sci-fi, but does involve magic, swords and knights and quests, so we're giving it a pass.
It's got just
basically.
enough to qualify.
Yeah, just enough. Plus, we like it. It's a good enough book. And has been optioned for a movie, which should be very exciting considering what we'll be discussing later.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, this is where I ask you, Nick, to read the back of the book, which shouldn't take long because this edition doesn't have much on the back of this book.
Okay, so imagine the world at stake. An epic struggle between good and evil. The greatest quest in history. The fate of humanity resting in your hands. Are you ready?
Are you?
There you go. I think I'm ready.
That's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I've read it, so I guess that qualifies.
I mean, it's remarkable how little that actually tells you about the book.
It's nothing, isn't it? It's amazing we ever got to read this.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I bought it based on just people saying it was good, and this is an awesome cover. I think this is the second or third edition. There's a lot of different covers knocking about. So since that told us nothing, would you like to tell us what Ready Player One is about?
Yeah, I'll do my best. As it's a little while since I've
yes, we should say that we've been tending to record this for a month now.
Yeah.
And so it's been a while since either of us read it. And you've been swatting up, so you.
I have. I've done the cliff notes just so I can remind myself, and actually a huge amount of it came back to me, which is good. Yeah. But essentially, it's a story about set in the near future, 2045, I think it is.
Something around there, yeah.
It's and in the future, the internet has become even more prevalent than it is now. So it's essentially a virtual space that people can log into virtually with like a headset and haptic gloves, as they refer to them. And experience the internet as though it was another world. And this world is huge. It's like space. It's full of planets and places to go. And some planets are just for shopping, and some planets are for education, and that sort of thing. So it's an incredible. It is potentially what the internet might become. And the story stars a kid who's obsessed with 80s sort of nostalgia, isn't it? So
there's a very big subculture obsessed with 80s nostalgia for reasons that I'm sure we will get into.
Well, exactly, because the creator of the Oasis, which is the name for this internet space, was a child of the 80s. Yeah. Well, like a teen.
He basically he was born mid 70s, wasn't he? So
yes,
he was
that's right.
a child and a
right
teenager in the 80s
to consume the 80s. Yeah. And as such, obsesses over it and injects it into everything he's ever created. So he was brought up on Dungeons and Dragons and Adventure and Zork and all that kind of stuff, and then he loves all the movies like War Games and whatever else like that this book constantly references.
Yeah.
And anyway, he dies, and his sort of legacy, what he leaves to the world, is an Easter egg hidden in the Oasis, which is ostensibly the largest and greatest video game ever made. And if anyone can find it, they'll have access to all of the billions of wealth that this guy, who is kind of like the new age Mark Zuckerberg, has accrued in his life. And
but the sort of the slight twist on it all, I don't even know if it's a twist, but this world has suffered every economic and environmental collapse that has ever been predicted.
Yeah, absolutely. It's horrible. It's really bad.
It's hideous. People live in trailer parks that are stacked on top of one another because nobody can afford fuel anymore. Every vehicle has to be electric because there's no more petrol.
Yeah.
And because they never put the effort into researching good electric motors, like
the world's just collapsed.
Yeah, trucks. Yeah. The best bus you could get takes 3 days to get to the next city along.
That's right. Yeah.
It travels at like 20 miles an hour, and so they're basically everybody has to live next to the cities. Yeah. Which basically meant that everybody brought their trailers and just
these slums of trailers,
up,
which are sort of stacked with like scaffolding, isn't it? And I think I read somewhere that that's meant to be an homage to like Donkey Kong, which is like stacking up the girders.
That would make perfect sense.
Arcadey sort of world in the real world, even though the game world is somewhere much better, much nicer.
Most of human population who can and has access to internet and electricity spends all their time in the Oasis now. They live there, they work there, they shop there.
Yeah.
Your possessions in the real world mean little more than just keeping your body running now.
Well, you barely have any. Yeah. I mean, Wade, particularly, who is our hero, is lucky to even have an internet connection. Yeah. He lives in a corner of one of the what are they called?
He's an orphan, isn't he?
Yes.
And he lives with his aunt, who only took him in because she gets extra food stamps for taking in a minor.
That's right. Yeah.
So he lives behind the washing machine.
That's it. Yeah. He doesn't
in
even
the
have
laundry.
a room.
Yeah. because it's the warmest spot he could find in the place.
But he does have, right down at the bottom of the stacks,
Yeah.
in the sort of like load of trash and rubbish that gathers down there, there's an old van.
He found like an old transit or something,
That's
didn't
it, yeah. And he sort of reinforced it, and then he's got his, like, all of his gear down there, and his ability to, and he's got an antenna on the roof, and he connects to the Oasis there, and that's his paradise, and he spends all his time there.
Well, basically, he goes to school in the Oasis. He's part of the new public school system, which is virtual.
Yeah.
And that basically means that he has access to a base level haptic setup. Because
But only
school,
that, super basic.
It is so basic. Like he said, he makes mention of things like he can't do facial expressions. Like his avatar doesn't have facial expressions, whereas somebody with a fancy setup would be able to mimic exactly what they were doing with their avatar.
Yeah, and that's another thing, is that in the Oasis, like, pretty much to get anything or anywhere, you have to have some money.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. You know, you're buying sort of virtual possessions rather than real ones now. And so he's just a level 1, isn't he? Everyone is level 1. And he makes mention of the fact that because James Halliday, the guy who invented the Oasis, is obsessed with video games, just to have an account in the Oasis means that when you start up it says Ready Player One, even though it's not really a game, it's more of the internet. And everyone has a level 1, and you only need level 1 to go shopping, you only need level 1 to go like to school. And so most people are level 1, but the people who play the Oasis like a video game level up and get swords and ray guns and vehicles and all sorts of other stuff.
They call it the climb to 99, I seem to remember.
Yes, that's right. That's the top level.
Yeah, the top level is 99, and you have to grind to get there.
Yeah.
But most people might have a level 3 character just to go wandering around.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets you certain privileges having a slightly higher level. But the thing is that Wade is trapped on Ludus, the school planet, because it costs money to transport yourself.
Yeah, whether it's by teleporting or with a vehicle.
You can run, but of course you can't leave a planet by running.
No, it takes hours and hours and hours, like they're real-sized planets.
Yeah, yeah. So the book opens with the description of the Easter egg.
Yes.
And the description of the rise of the Gunters.
Yes. Which is not the nicest name for what they do, is it?
Well, they are egg hunters.
They are egg hunters. It's been shortened to Gunters because of that. And they are a group of, well, there's huge numbers of them, aren't there? People who are out there, mostly kids, hoping to, the big dream. Can we find Halliday's Easter egg? And him and a few friends who are all also Gunters, but they go to school, and they're not really that serious about it because they honestly don't think they can really break into that.
Well, it's been like 10 years at this point
since Halliday's death.
I can't actually remember how long it's been.
Time.
Yeah. So Halliday's been dead a while, and nobody's found the Easter egg yet.
No. I mean, because it's split into 3 keys and 3 gates, isn't it? And no one's even found the first key, which is the copper key.
Yeah.
And the thing about being a Gunter is that you have to get into the mindset of James Halliday, who is obviously, as we said, an 80s nostalgic, obsessed nerd.
And also, it's very heavily suggested autistic.
Yes, that's true.
He was obsessive about tiny details and very, very hard to work and live with by all accounts in the book. Considering he never turns up as a character, you learn a lot about him.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
There's a lot of exposition to be had in the early days.
Because a big part of what the Gunters do is obsess over Halliday's life.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because the book is narrated by Wade. It's narrated in this really geeky fashion where he keeps adding footnotes and little side notes to his own description.
I should mention at this point that I read the book on audiobook.
Oh, yeah.
And it was narrated by Will Wheaton.
Of course.
Which couldn't have been nerdier. So it's like, he was a really good voice for Wade.
Will Wheaton is a character in the book.
That's also really confusing because Will Wheaton's like the president of the geek community or something in the Oasis.
He's the president of the Oasis.
That's right. So there's a president, isn't there? Yeah. And so he's... like, Will Wheaton is saying Will Wheaton while I'm listening to the book. I was like, what's going on? This is so meta, it's so weird. But he was a really good voice, because of course you associate Will Wheaton's voice with nerdy things, and there's Wade talking about nerdy stuff. So it worked really, really well. Yeah.
But, so Wade himself is, I think it's probably safe to say, is not the most socially adept of people. He's never really interacted with people in the real world.
No, not at all, no.
It's described how his mother basically raised him in the Oasis. His mum worked remotely in the Oasis when his mother was still alive, and she basically used it as a babysitting tool for him.
So he's like a child of the Oasis.
Yeah, so he's never really had to interact with humans on a grand scale.
But he does have friends.
Yeah.
He has this small group of friends. They hang out in the basement of H's house.
Yeah. I'm never sure if it's actually a location or if he just creates the basement. It's
you can log into
chat
it.
room,
It's like a chat room, isn't it? So it seems to be some sort of nebulous space that you can just access no matter where you are.
And he's just created it to look like a 1980s geek den basement.
So it's full of VHS tapes and comics and all sorts of D&D modules and
arcade games.
And arcade games.
Always the arcade games.
Yes. And so H is a friend of his who who seems to be quite well off, doesn't he? So he's got a few levels. He's like level 5 or 6 or something, isn't he? Or is he even higher than that?
I think he might be up to about 10.
Ah, right, okay.
I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
But either way, he's got a bit of money, and he's obviously built this chat room, and so, you know, Wade's very lucky to have a friend like H, but they're really genuinely good best friends, which I really like. I
liked that, because I was expecting that to fall apart at any moment as I read it, and actually...
Well, it goes through a rocky phase.
It does, which is understandable given the plot of the book, but at the same time, H always sticks by him.
Yeah.
And... more importantly, Wade sticks by H, even when the true nature of H kind of comes out.
Rather than it being that classic trope of like, oh, a girl comes, because a girl does come into the story, and then they break apart, and then they're not really friends anymore, and then at the last minute for the final like climax, they come to, and it's just like we've seen that so many times. Whereas this felt like, there was a bit of a rocky patch, but it was a realistic rocky patch. It was like sometimes friends go through rocky patches, and they stayed in contact. And there's that great moment where I think sort of near the end of the book, I won't spoil it or anything, but H essentially gets ahead of Wade in the sort of grand quest. And they haven't talked for months, and then H sends him an email with like a little hint. To
not
help
the
him
answer.
Out. Not the answer, just because he knows that Wade would want to solve it himself. And it's really nice that they're still kind of mates, even though they've not talked for a little while. But yeah.
I suppose we could throw up a spoiler warning on this book. I mean, it's not an old book.
No.
You may not have read it. Should you wish to read it, you should.
You really should.
It's a good book.
And maybe you should stop this now, go read it, then come back and listen to the other half.
It's not a perfect piece of literature, but it's a really good read.
I think so.
And it has been optioned for a movie. In fact, I read it was optioned for the movie the same day the publisher took the book. So
really?
Whoa, I believe the movie is currently slated for 2018.
2018.
Because it was originally going to be slated for December 2017, but that will clash with the next Star Wars movie, so they decided to move it by a couple of months.
Probably wise. Even if it is a Spielberg, because it's amazingly Spielberg's directing it.
Yes, and this week we've had the first casting announcements. People who I've never heard of.
No.
Because they're most of them are from like young dystopian
millennials.
And I do not watch such things because I'm sad and pathetic and don't keep up with the kids.
They're beautiful people though.
Yeah, beautiful people. So I believe it's Ty Sheridan playing Wade.
That's right. Olivia
Cook as Artemis.
Yes.
And they've also announced the main villain. But again, I can't remember that guy's name.
Oh, is it Nathan, I want to say? Or...
What, the character?
Nolan.
Or the actor?
Nolan Sorrento.
Nolan Sorrento
is the villain. Yeah, not Nathan Sorrento. But no, I don't know the name of the actor who's playing him.
But no, so yeah, Spielberg directing, which as you pointed out is interesting because something that Ready Player One has a lot of is licensed material in it.
Yeah, and this is what will make the film so like difficult and also interesting to watch.
I mean, I'm guessing that's why by the time it's released, this film would have been 9 years in production.
Yeah.
Because if it was optioned in 2011.
Yeah, that's true. Oh gosh, yeah, that's so good.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of that's probably going to be buying the licenses off various people because the point of this book is that it contains masses of geek pop culture.
Yeah, I mean there are moments where Wade has to solve puzzles which reference word for word happenings in 80s movies.
Yeah.
One of they're called flick syncs, I think.
Yes, yeah.
And the idea is he has to he's sort of dropped into a virtual situation which looks exactly like, say, a scene from Wargame.
Yeah.
And he has to recite because he's playing the role of the hero of that film, and he has to fill those words in as the hero, so he has to know the script off by heart. And this shows how dedicated the Gunters are to 80s nostalgia. They've learned movies word for word.
Yeah.
So and if he makes a single mistake, he'll fail the quest and he won't get the key or whatever it is he's looking for at that point. So these flick syncs will be shots from these films, and they have to be in the movie because this is an integral point of the whole story, is that he is walking through the footsteps of the stuff that he loves and that Halliday loved. So how are they going to do that?
Well, what you said was interesting is that a lot of this material is probably owned by Spielberg.
Well, yeah.
So,
I mean, that's...
So the fact that he's directing might actually grease a few of these wheels.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, it's still production companies, isn't it? Like Spielberg's worked for different production companies over time.
But then there's masses of manga in this as well, and anime.
Yeah. And anime, and like Japanese TV shows, and regular TV shows, music, because there's that whole section on the Rush album 2112, isn't there?
Yes, of course,
where he finds the guitar behind the waterfall and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean that might be easier, and actually the soundtrack for this film might be stellar. You know, we might be talking Guardians of the Galaxy style soundtrack here, which would be really, really cool. And I certainly think it's going to, because like, not to go off topic, but I loved Super 8, which was a JJ film and I think Spielberg like co-directed or produced that or something.
It's been on my list for years.
And it's so good because it feels really 80s. Like it feels like E.T. or it feels like those sort of classic movies like that. And I really hope that he channels some of that for this, because got to feel like an old movie, even though it's set in the future, but it's all about old movies.
Yeah,
it's so confusing, but it's really good.
No, it's going to be great. So there we go. This is now our spoiler warning. I'd say you don't have to watch what you're saying from here on in.
Okay, cool.
And so yeah, if you have not read Ready Player One or you want to wait for the movie, this is your warning.
Yeah.
Here, turn off.
Go
away.
read it
Shoo.
now, because you'll love it, and then come back. Make sure you come back though. So hello again.
Yeah. So I think they're all gone.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, you don't have to watch what you're saying in the slightest. Spoil away.
So yeah, so I don't know where to start now with spoilers, but
So let's start with how this poor little level 1 character ends up being the first one on the scoreboard.
yeah, well he makes a really good point, and I really like this because of course the key issue is how do you take a guy? I think it's an issue that a lot of stories struggle with. How do you take the underdog, the completely loser character who has no connections, no money, no nothing? How do you get him into the fray with all the big guns?
Yeah.
You know, getting this big egg and everything. And he made the really good point in the story that if James Halliday was going to truly hide this Easter egg and make it available to everyone, then you'd have to make it truly available to everyone. And knowing full well that there were loads of level 1 players out there who could only access, like him, who were poor and could only access the Oasis through their sort of educational given right or whatever, then therefore the first key would have to be accessible to those people. And he uses that strain of logic to assume that it's probably on an educational world. Yeah. And I think that's a really good idea, because that works. That works for me. I'm happy with that.
Was that Halliday also leaves like a riddle, doesn't he?
Yes.
Which does, I think, make mention of you've got a lot to learn.
Yes, you're right. And of course, ludus in Latin means learn, doesn't it? Which is the planet that the schools are on.
Yeah, the schools are all on the planet. And it's like, it's a weird planet because it's just the same school copy-pasted like thousands and thousands of times
to have the
over
capacity
and
for loads and loads of children.
And so, Wade manages to make the connection that the entrance to the first challenge to get the first key is somewhere on his own educational planet. Yeah. And so, I now can't remember quite how, but he makes another connection to an old D&D manual.
Yes. Now I can't remember how he makes that connection, but it's something to do with the fact that I think it's in the riddle.
Yes,
I think it's in the starting riddle, and he talks. He makes reference to a place that is a well-known starting D&D module, and then he looks at the aerial maps of Ludus, the planet that all the schools are on, and he finds a formation. In a forest nearby one of the many schools on the planet that resembles the map that he knows that this D&D module looks like, but the school is like the other side of the planet. Yeah. And of course he has no teleporter, he has no money, he has no vehicles, nothing. So, but I like this. He realizes that there's a sporting event where his school is playing another school, which is just halfway around the planet, and you're allowed a free teleport if you're doing something
if
curricular.
You're going on a school extracurricular.
So he goes, I'm going to see the football match or whatever. Teleports halfway across the planet, then runs off into the forest for an hour. It's like an hour's run through the forest. But of course he doesn't get tired because he's just running away. I
remember him saying he puts it on auto run,
which
is just great because I have a friend who was so into World of Warcraft. And it was like you'd go around you'd go around and visit, and her character was just running across a continent, and she's just chatting to you. It's like, "Oh, you're not playing the game?" It's like, "Yeah, I've just got to get to this place." So it's like, I've got to run for like 2 hours in that direction.
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah. But I mean, this is exactly what this book is based on. It's all of these tropes and ideas that we all know really, really well. You know, just like sitting there with your thumb pushed forward on an analog stick for 20 minutes to get across Skyrim. You know, it's exactly the same. And that's what's really engaging about it, is that although it's all like nostalgia, it's also referencing what we love about games now. Which is cool.
So yes, and he finds the tomb.
Yeah.
Like the tomb of disaster or tomb of death or something along those lines.
Tomb of Doom.
The Doom Tomb, yeah.
And bear in mind that no one has found a copper key at this point. So as you said, like it's been 10 years since Halliday's death. And another thing we should mention are the baddies.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So a company called IOI, which stands for...
it's something like Internet Operations International or something,
Yeah, they're basically a huge internet service providing conglomerate who are now the biggest, I think, corporation in the world.
Because second to actual electricity, having internet connection is the most important
thing. And everyone gets it through an IOI connection or service, so that's why. And they are desperate to find the egg, because not only does the egg give you all the money that Halliday had, obviously as a billionaire, but it gives you control of the Oasis, which for a corporation who runs connection to the Oasis, this is next level shit.
And they've made no bones about the fact that they want to start charging people for accounts and monetizing and putting advertising on every surface.
So they're evil.
Yes, because advertising is evil. I think we can all agree with that.
So they have these gunters, what they would call gunters, but the heroes of the story call them sixers, and they're called sixers because they don't have usernames, do they? They just have 6-digit numbers.
Because if you join up with the sixers, you have to use one of their standardised avatars and one of their accounts, and they don't let you have your name. You just have a 6-digit number, all of which begins with the 6.
Yeah. And it means that they're sort of infinitely replaceable.
Yeah.
So you kill a Sixer, and obviously you can kill avatars, and then you have to create a new account.
Yeah,
You start
yeah.
from level 1 again. Kill a Sixer, and a new one will just be in its place because they just have hundreds of thousands of accounts. And so they're sort of out there. But unfortunately, because they're a corporation and they're just doing this by like numbers and quantity, they have none of the care and the 80s love and nostalgia that our heroes have. And so the chances of them finding anything hinge on following who they think are celebrity gunters in order to try and track it down. And that's what the story is the whole way through, as they discover more and more as they're being chased by the Sixers. Yeah. But yeah, so no one's found a key yet. So amazingly, I think Wade is walking into this temple on his sort of educational planet, and he's thinking, if I have found like potentially the first thing, I'm going to be finding the first. Like, this is a big deal. You know, this is a really, really big deal. And the book does a good job of making you feel like, holy crap, this is going to be a big deal. And sure enough, he does. Not to spoil too much or skip to the end.
We've gone through the spoilers. But he levels up as he goes, because it turns out this place is just full of good stuff.
Yeah,
like it's full
he's got like a wooden
fancy
sword
armor,
or something.
and he's suddenly rich because there's like
loot
everywhere.
I think he levels up to level 4 or 5 or something just in that dungeon. Gets to the end and there's a Lich King there.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to fight him, luckily, because he's not a high enough level to do anything like that. But he has to defeat him at Joust, doesn't he? Which is the arcade game.
Which, I mean, gaming was something that I came to much later in life, because for various reasons I didn't have consoles or computers as a kid, really. And so this was the first I'd ever heard of Joust.
Yeah, right.
But apparently it's quite a thing.
It is.
And it involves, from what I got from the book, your knight riding an ostrich.
Yeah.
And then stabbing the other player with so you're
like
jousting, but for some reason on ostriches.
Yeah, I don't quite know why. I don't know why. But like we were in that place here in Cheltenham, Smoky Joe's, which has got an arcade, and they've got a joust machine in there. And all of the artwork all over the side of the arcade machine is just like knights on ostriches. Yeah. It's a brilliant game. I don't understand why they didn't go with horses.
Was it like having to animate 2 extra legs?
Maybe. I mean, maybe it was just a simpler sprite to just have this ball with 2 little legs running under it. I don't know. Anyway.
But yes, so he beats the Lich at Joust.
He does.
And gets the first key.
Yeah.
Which then has another riddle.
Yeah, the riddle's engraved on the key, isn't it? And then, so each key has a gate. You've got to get to the gate, unlock the gate, and then you get through, and then there's a clue in there to get the next key. Yeah. And so there's the copper key to the copper gate, then there's the jade key to the jade gate, and then there's the crystal key to the crystal gate, and then the end. Yeah. Yeah, that's the plan anyway.
Is the plan.
Yeah.
But it turns out that he's not the only one who's been thinking along these lines.
Yes.
Because literally, as he's leaving the dungeon with the copper key, Artemis, one of the most famous gunters in the world,
celebrity gunter,
just walks in, and she's apparently been trying this place out for days.
Yeah, she worked out that it was Ludus, didn't she? But she hadn't yet found the tomb until apparently minutes after Wade. And what we should mention here is that there are multiple keys to get. So as many people as can solve the riddles can get the keys. There's not just one copper key. So if she was to complete it, which she does just after Wade, she would get herself her own copper key. And then the important thing is that not only is she obviously the love interest of the story, but there's a scoreboard, isn't there? Yeah. That everyone can see, no matter what level you are. And the instant that Wade completes it and gets the copper key, for the first time ever, a name appears on this scoreboard and a point score next to it, and it says copper key next to it. And so H, Wade's friend, starts emailing him constantly and texting him, going, "Oh my gosh, you found the key! What the hell?" Because they can't believe it, because they've been obsessing over it for years as kids in this basement, reading comics and watching movies. And suddenly he sees Wade's avatar name, which is Parsival.
It's like it's a misspelling of Percival, like from the
it's got a Z and it's Parsival instead of
because apparently he says the original spelling was taken.
Yeah, which is another brilliant thing. It's just like we all know what
it's
that's
like. Artemis spells her name with a 3. Because Artemis was taken.
Yeah. And of course I didn't know that because I was listening to the audiobook. So all the way through I just heard Artemis, and then when I finally sort of I don't know, read something about the book online, I was like, oh, her name's got 3 in it, that's cool. And also H, I assume, was just the letter H.
Oh no, but it's spelled A-I-C-H or something, isn't it?
Like that, yeah, exactly. So that was really funny.
Yeah. And so then he solves the first gate.
Yep.
And life completely changes for him, because
he becomes
suddenly
a celebrity.
He is the most famous gunter in the world. The whole population of the world suddenly becomes interested in the egg hunt again.
Yeah. Because it had kind of quieted down.
Died out, and basically the gunters were sort of like being poked fun at all the time.
Yeah, like nerds in basements. And he gets loads of money from endorsement deals, and he starts leveling up his character because he's got all this money so he can access other worlds.
And he moves to the main city.
Yes,
he moves
in the real
Columbia,
world.
In the real world, on one of these battle buses that moves like 20 miles an hour. And he gets himself an apartment that's basically just... Apparently there's now just a a market for apartments for people who never go out.
Yeah, and he gets
It's
all
like,
his food ordered in.
Hikikomori has gone nuts in this world. It's like, why would you need to go out? Like, all the human interactions.
Well, there's
you
nothing
do.
good out there, is there? Like all the sights to see and the places to hang out are all in the Oasis.
It's like there is one section later on in the book where we do see the outside world, and you're just like, why isn't somebody doing something about this?
Yeah, well, it's because of the Oasis, isn't it? Yeah, everyone's just hanging out in there and building stuff in there. What's important to mention at this point is just before he moves, he gets approached by IOI.
Of course, how have I forgotten about that? I'm sorry.
And gets asked to work for them. Because of course he's an amazing gunter, and they're like, oh my god, this kid's got loads of 80s knowledge and nostalgia, he's probably going to help us find the egg, and they want to recruit him, and they make loads of amazing offers, like giving him 5 million quid just to tell them where the copper key is and nothing else, or no strings attached, and he refuses all of them, being the stalwart hero that he is. And then they finally...
He's very full of himself.
He is. He's arrogant. He is arrogant. But you kind of root for him anyway. And then they threaten him right at the end, and they say, well, if you don't do what we say, we'll blow up your house. And obviously you live in the stacks, so loads of other people will be killed by the explosion. And
It's a thing that happens, apparently, like the stacks do just collapse.
Every now and then collapse, yeah.
You put too many on top of one another, and the scaffolding can't take it.
But Wade calls their bluff,
Yeah.
logs out, listens, got away with it, that's cool. Suddenly, boom, oh goodness. And luckily he wasn't in the stack that they
he
thought
was in
he was
his transit.
Yeah.
down
so
the road.
because of, I don't know, difference of signal or something, they don't manage to kill him, but they do kill probably hundreds of people in the attempt to try and kill
his aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
And all the other people that she had living in, like...
Who he didn't really like.
He didn't
or get on
like,
with,
but they were still human
family.
beings.
They
And
were
there was the
human
old
beings.
lady
Yeah, who he did like, because she lived in the 80s and he liked talking to her about nostalgia, and she's now dead. So it's a really shocking move, because at that point you think IOI are just like, oh, they're just the corporate
They're
villains.
sort of posers, but actually
they're killers.
Yeah.
So that's like, whoa, stakes are high. So then he moves to the city in this like locked down apartment that doesn't even open its door.
He spray paints all the windows black.
Yeah, only orders his food externally. But he does have an exercise regime, doesn't he, to keep himself...
Yes, because he starts getting fat.
Too fat for his suit, isn't it?
Yeah, he starts getting too big for his haptic suit, because now he can afford all the best gear, so rather than just like the goggles and the gloves, he now has a full body
so he can
haptic
feel
suit.
the Oasis, he says,
Oh, and he also, apparently there's a market for hair removal creams, because he makes a point of the haptic suit works better if you've got no hair, so whenever he showers in the morning, he just uses this kind of hair removal cream, and it's like, God, this is a horrible world.
Yeah.
I mean,
So you're completely
he basically
bald, no
looks
eyebrows.
like he looks like Neo from Matrix.
Yeah.
Start of the Matrix, isn't it?
The pale white Neo that wakes up in the red goo.
It's gonna be like fish face.
Yeah.
Slightly flabby. So yes, he puts
more than
the
slightly he does outwardly say, doesn't he, that he's a bit of a little fatso.
Little podge, really.
Yeah.
But then he's been living off like sugar high rations basically for his whole life. He's never had decent
One thing
food.
that did appeal to me, which comes up a lot earlier, is that when he did go to real school for a little bit in the past, and he used to get bullied a lot, obviously, because he's a nerd and he's a bit fat, whatever. But then he starts going to school in the Oasis, and he can mute his bullies, which I really like. So they're all saying things on his chat or whatever, and he just go mute, 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 and turn them off. That's brilliant.
I think we all wish we could have done that at some point.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yes, so he moves away, and I quite like the thing of you can put like a calorie burner lock on the Oasis. So it's the thing like it won't.
That's right.
Like he puts in he gets himself an Oasis treadmill.
Yeah.
Basically, and he can only access this one health program
If
every
he's
morning.
burnt so many calories.
And he's only allowed to go back into the real Oasis once he's burnt so many calories a day.
That's quite good. Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, peak humans will find a way, I guess, somehow.
Yeah. I think what another thing that appealed to me about this book is that Ernie Cline put a lot of thought into like what you would actually
the practicalities of it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like as much as this could have just been a story kind of like The Matrix, where you just log in and have a great old time, no one ever really talks about the fact that you'd think that Neo in the real world in The Matrix would be this podgy dude who was nowhere near as athletically built as he is in The Matrix, and Ernie makes no doubt about that in this story, that, you know, Wade has to take care of his real body because his Oasis body doesn't need it takes care of itself. It's fine. So yeah, I like that, and the book is full of stuff like that, like attentions to detail and this thought that as much as I don't want the world to collapse economically, I want the Oasis. I really want the Oasis.
It might be closer than you think with the Oculus Rift coming out.
This year is meant to be the year of VR, apparently. So.
Well, I mean, I saw a thing the other day and it made me think, oh God, the Oasis is happening. When someone was demonstrating a drone control headset.
Oh right, I've seen these.
But instead of having a screen that you look at to get the 3D, it was projecting into your eye, which is of course how the Oasis works.
Into your eye, and we can
it means you could use it whilst you've got, even if you need glasses, if you're short-sighted or something, it just adjusts where it's projecting so it hits your retina.
Yeah, because you wear glasses.
I wear glasses.
And how are you going to deal with an Oculus Rift?
I'm not going to deal with Oculus Rift for many reasons.
Well,
but,
yeah, I think we're all going to be throwing up for like a good few hours playing with that. But I mean, you'd have to put it on over your glasses, wouldn't you, if you were going to use it.
Yeah, I
or
would.
put contacts in.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, I've never really got on with contacts, but it's physically
But not
possible.
everyone does. You see, that's kind of.
And there are
exclusive,
certain eye conditions that can't be dealt with contacts. Yeah, so I mean,
So it's
but
not for everyone yet.
But the Oasis and this drone control headset that I saw actually work by projecting into your eyes, so they
onto your retina.
Yeah, onto your retina, so they compensate for any kind of eye problems that you have, so long as you have functioning retinas.
Yeah, which
you can see it in crystal clear clarity and in full 3D. I mean, obviously, I guess there's no lag or anything in the Oasis technology. That's the kind of the advance that they've made. This real kind of, you know, regardless of how fast your internet connection is, there is no lag ever.
No, never. No. They don't really. He doesn't go into detail about what it looks like. I get the feeling that it varies massively from world to world because there's like the shopping worlds, and I get he does mention that the educational world is very stripped back and very dull.
Well, also he's using
old gear
by at that point.
True, so he can't render stuff.
I think he does make mention that the world looks better when he's got his new.
And when he's wearing a suit, he can do things like feel the wind, can't he, and stuff, which he said he couldn't before. So that's interesting. And
like his suit not only has sort of pressure pads to let him help him feel things that he's touching. Yeah. It also has servos to stop him like reaching too far. Like, you know, like I seem to remember that being mentioned. Like, you know, if you're pushing against a wall, the suit will stop you pushing your arm through the wall. Yeah. Even though technically there's nothing there.
Because that would be very confusing, wouldn't it? I think if you had this fully immersive headset, and I think this has happened to some people with the Oculus, and I remember what it was. It was a fella using the Oculus, and he had a man who was in the real world talking to him in the ear. And in game, he ran like 20 meters forward. Yeah. And the guy was still talking to him. He was like, what? He got so confused because he should have run away from him. But of course, in real space, he hadn't moved anyway. He was sat in a chair. So it really confuses the brain when you get these like conflicting stimuli.
But again, I mean, I suppose everybody that we follow in this world, all of the Gunters are all pretty young that we follow in this world. They've all grown up with it as well. And clearly some kind of technological leap happened before Oasis went online. Definitely. Which I'm thinking was somewhere around 2020. So that's supposed to have happened. But, you know, which is why I was like, oh God, the technology to project into your eye exists now, you know?
To be totally honest, there's not much stopping us from getting to Oasis, full on Oasis.
But yeah, it is... the technology and how they describe the technology is interesting. Like, he's got a tower in his room that makes it smell like whatever he's around.
Yes, he's got olfactory,
but you can choose to turn it off if you're somewhere that smells bad.
Just like Mute in the Bullies.
Yeah. But, so he has this place, and he sets himself up as his famous Gunter. Yeah. And then 6 months pass, pretty much.
And he doesn't find the next key,
and he does nothing. He doesn't even really try. I think that's the thing. He's so caught up in his sudden fame and
which
the
is
money.
Another really believable thing. Yeah. Like, I really like this. He wasn't just the...
He actually has everything that he ever wanted.
Exactly.
He has the comfortable life.
And he gets it like a third of the way into the book.
Yeah.
And you're suddenly like, well, maybe I would just give everything up, and just like chill out and relax. But then you're like, no, the mission. And he's like, no, the mission. He's really desperate to find it, but he's sort of hitting a wall, isn't he? But he's also getting to know Artemis. Yeah. And he's levelling up his character a little bit. And they do get invited to a sort of dance celebrity event.
It's the Steve Wozniak of the world.
Yes, who was Halliday's party.
Yeah, Halliday's
partner back when they were setting up the Oasis. And they have a very similar Wozniak jobs
and he still has a hell of a lot of money. He left the Oasis company quite a while back, but took a very sort of comfortable settlement with him.
And he has like infinite power.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like, his levels
so
are
like
infinite.
along with the other founders, I guess. Yeah. So Halliday basically. The founders of Oasis have immortal avatars.
Yes.
That basically have admin. They have
admin
admin
privileges.
So it's like they can do anything. And so he every day holds a birthday party.
Yes.
For himself. To which he invites all the most famous people of Oasis.
And so, of course, Wade and Artemis are invited, which is cool. Yeah. And they all turn... I remember he makes specific mention of them all turning up in weird vehicles.
Yes, he turns up in his modded DeLorean, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's like a DeLorean fused with Octo-1 from Ghostbusters and a little bit of Kit from Knight Rider. I think Kit is in his dashboard.
Yes,
It's like a Frankenstein car of some kind.
And then because Ogden's party is in... Like, they say there's different zones. Like, there's... Same as... same as like World of Warcraft and things, there are PvP zones, so player versus player zones, and then there are magic zones, and there are technology zones, and then there are like chaos zones where just anything goes. And this party is held in a chaos zone. So I love the moment where he flies down his DeLorean and everyone's like, "Yay, it's Percival!" Because he's famous and his DeLorean is famous, and then he just like clicks and turns it into a tiny little matchbox thing and puts it in his pocket.
There's no limits to the tech here. It's amazing. And then they have this party in a big hollowed out sphere. Yeah. And it's anti-gravity and they're dancing and flying. And...
I quite like the moment of course, because he's kind of athletically inept. I mean, he does his treadmill running every day, but apart from that, he's a complete nothing when it comes to this. So he and Artemis asks him to dance, and he just like freaks out. He doesn't know how to dance, so he just finds a program.
Oh, does he? I don't remember that.
So that he's not controlling his avatar anymore. The avatar's just
dancing away. Just like scrolls through Google like, I really need a dance program now.
It reminded me of that bit in The Matrix. Where Trinity's like, I need to know how to fly a helicopter.
That's so good,
It's like, okay, I need to know how to dance, like, now.
Well, I love how, in The Matrix, it's, I need to know how to fly a helicopter, I need to learn, like, Kung Fu in 3 minutes. And in Ready Player One, this gives you a perfect idea of what this book is all about. Ready Player One, it's, I need to download something to dance because I'm a total nerd and I've never learned how to, and a girl is asking me to now, oh my god. I just get the feeling that Ernest Clines was like, when he was a kid, desperate for a, like, dance program download, which I think we all were, again.
And then the sort of a kind of a turning point in the book. The Sixers attack Ogden's party.
They attack that party.
Because they're trying to. This is kind of the first time that Artemis and Percival have both been out of like their own little secure bubbles, because he's like bought a meteorite and
which is hollowed out and living
just,
in which is called
he's got like the Cowboy Bebop in there and stuff. He's got the
has he?
I think
he say that?
I think it was one of them. I think it was the Bebop.
That's well good. That's really cool. I don't remember
he's just got this meteorite full of 80s manga
Falco,
stuff.
it's called.
Yes, so this is the first time that both he and Artemis have been out in the world for months.
Not the real world, but the
in away from their very secure little zones.
Fortresses of solitude,
so the Sixers attack Ogden's party.
Trying to kill Artemis
and Percival.
Yeah.
Or at least kill their avatars, of course.
Yes, because of course they'd have to start from scratch
and they'd have to
again.
start from nothing. But Ogden basically just goes, no, you don't get to attack my party.
And like fires red lightning out of his hands or something and kills every Sixer in the immediate like mile radius or something.
Like, I remember reading that and going, what the hell were they trying to achieve? What did they think was going to happen?
Don't you know what Ogden is? Yeah. But then I think that the whole sort
and he's been really vocal against the Sixers as well. Like he's
he calls them a fascist corporation, doesn't he? Yeah.
He's very clear on he doesn't necessarily agree with what Halliday did towards the end of his life. But at the same time, it was Halliday's choice to do it, so he's really backing Halliday. It's like, we want a real person to find the Easter egg and have control.
Yeah.
And he's sworn to not take part himself.
Yeah. Which is cool, actually, because he would be so easy to...
Oh, exactly. He could have found it years ago, surely, if he'd tried.
Not only does he know Halliday really well, but he's got unlimited power.
Yeah. So this happens, and this kind of brings Ogden into the fray in a strange way. Like, he doesn't really take an active role.
No,
but from then
not
on...
until the very end.
Yeah, until the very end. But from then on, it is very much like he's just sort of backing Artemis and Percival and H. And just kind of making sure that they get where they need to go. But then, like, the big hit for Wade is, I think it's H finds the next key.
Yes.
Or is it Artemis who finds it first? I can't remember.
I think it's H. I think it's H, yeah.
Because this is after the sort of the rocky patch that we've been talking about, and H and Percival haven't been speaking to each other
Mainly
for months.
Percival's like Percival's been flirting with Artemis a lot, and that's kind of not working out that well either.
Yeah.
Because I think Percival or our hero Wade kind of doesn't have the right idea for what you have to do to sort of like woo a girl.
Yeah.
Just make friends with anyone really. And so he's not really going about things very well in every direction.
Yeah. And I think Artemis has her own issues.
Oh yeah.
Which is she puts across this very confident, competent kind of demeanour, whereas actually she's a much deeper character than that. And I really like Artemis as a character.
Artemis is cool. Yeah. And she's described well as well.
Yeah.
She's not a bimbo at all. Like, she's not some sort of sex object.
Yeah.
She's a very capable and effective gunter.
Yeah.
And if anything, sort of puts Wade on the back foot all the time.
Yeah.
Like, he's constantly like looking up to her. And
I mean,
she
found the copper key second, but she was there minutes after him.
Yeah. She only found it second because plot dictates that our hero would find it first. But she was just as good, if not better than him. She was on the trail long before he was. And she's a celebrity, and as much as he kind of he sort of loves her and sort of has a crush on her and looks up pictures of her and stuff, she's only a celebrity because of how good at what she does.
Yeah.
So no, she's a really cool character. Actually.
I think that
really
is something
like
that I like about the Oasis in general as a concept. The people there, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter.
And that actually ends up being quite a big theme.
It really does, yeah. But it's like it's very much what you do in that world, because anyone could look like a supermodel in the Oasis.
And it's not about how you look at all. Like, and I think Wade makes constant references when he's first hanging out with Artemis. It's just like she could be like a 45-year-old burly man called Chuck. You know? And then, but he sort of alludes to that a couple more times, and after a while, he sort of doesn't care anymore, like what she looks like. He really likes her for who she is, and it's like this is very much a story about personality winning out over everything else. And when we do eventually meet Artemis, there is something significant about how she looks. Yeah. And but
it's very much a thing of she makes it more significant than anyone else.
Absolutely,
would.
She's embarrassed of it, whereas she doesn't need to be, because when the instant that Wade sees her, he's like, "You're beautiful." But
it is this weird thing, because he eventually meets both H and Artemis in person.
And H is a very significant
discovery.
And
H, and both of them are so different. Like, or rather, Artemis has always made this big thing about how she doesn't look like her avatar.
And yet she kind of does.
And yet she pretty much does.
Except that she has a birthmark
across
her face. A big red port wine stain, isn't it, across her face.
And H, right when they finally realise that all hell's cracking loose and they need to meet in real life,
which they do,
H just kind of makes a throwaway comment of, "I'll warn you, I don't look anything like I do in here." And this is where you were trying not to spoil, but we've thrown a spoiler warning.
So,
H is actually an African-American lesbian woman.
And all this time, her avatar has been a guy.
Yeah, just a white heterosexual guy.
Yeah. And so Wade is at first really shocked. And I think actually kind of, because they have like an RV journey across the continent together, don't they, for when they have to get to their sort of final base. Yeah. And I think for a while it's a little bit awkward. Yeah. But then very quickly, Wade comes around to the fact that no, it's still H. The way they talk, the way they hang out, the things they have to say, and all of their shared experiences are still valid. Yeah, yeah. And nothing's changed just because it's now an African-American girl. Yeah. Like, a lesbian girl. Yeah. And it's really cool. I really like that.
I liked Wade's reaction to it, because when I read it, I was like, oh, okay, what's going to happen here? Is there going to be some sort of ridiculous, like, self-important speech that's kind of like speaking to the reader about the importance of accepting the people within? And no, he just laughs. Yeah. He just goes, oh.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? That's right, yeah.
Just, like, laughs at her a bit, and then they drive across country.
Yeah, and he remembers that they're best mates, and it's all cool. So that was cool.
Yeah, so basically, they go through a whole load of things. They find the Jade Key. Yeah. I now can't remember where the Jade Key is. Can you remember?
Oh, isn't the Jade Key? Yes, the Jade Key is on the planet that is a reference to the Rush 2112 album.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, where we have to play a riff on a guitar, which is from that album. And then the guitar turns into the key. Yes. Which is wrapped in foil, which is important. Yeah. And then the key has engraved on it just the letter A. Yeah. Which is significant because Halliday's in-game avatar is called Anorak. Yeah. And so he realises that the final gate, and this is obviously the final boss, the final countdown, the final climax, is at Anorak's castle, which is the sort of centre of the Oasis. But unfortunately, the Sixers and everyone else is ahead of Wade on this. And so
because he's been doing nothing for like 6 months.
Yes, exactly. He's been a bit lazy. Although he has, which is very important, he found a secret Easter egg. Which is where he plays Pac-Man in an arcade. And this is really important because it's not actually part of the quest.
Because he went to like a museum, didn't he? Yeah. There was a planet that is a museum.
Well, it's like a museum of Halliday's childhood.
Yes, yeah.
And he recognised it as that because he cares so much about Halliday, and discovers it's a pizza place, I think, that he used to go to as a kid. There's an arcade machine in it of Pac-Man, and he realises that it's a reproduction of the arcade machine that Halliday used to play on as a kid. Yeah. And there's a quarter on the side, but it's stuck, and he can't lift it.
Yeah, the quarter can't be lifted. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he decides to play it and plays for 4 hours. And completes
and gets to the glitch levels of Pac-Man,
which is like where it famous ends. Glitch and levels, you can have the highest score, which is something like 3,300,360. Yeah. And the highest score up until that point was 50, so they were 10 points short. Yeah. He does it, and suddenly he can lift up the quarter, and it enters his inventory. Yeah. He's like, weird, don't know what that is. Whatever, moving on. But it's kind of cool. Yeah. Yes, and then of course he gets to the Crystal Gate after everyone else has got there, and the Sixers have put an invincible barrier shield around Halliday's castle, so no one else can get in because this is an artifact that they just happen to have. And there are artifacts in this world, aren't there, that have sort of unlimited power in one respect, and this is an unbreakable shield, which just unfortunately IOI happen to possess. So they are now trying to crack the Crystal Gate, sending Sixer after Sixer after Sixer in, and they're not solving it.
No, because isn't there? I'm now this is again because I haven't read it for a little while. I'm trying to remember. The true Gunters, the not Sixers, end up with an extra clue somehow.
Oh, you might be right.
Because there's something about the keys can't be used alone.
That's right.
The point of the crystal key is that you can't get in with just one.
No, 3 of you have to go through.
3 of you at least have to go in at once.
Because 3 is a magic number.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, somehow the Sixers haven't got that information. They got the crystal keys.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Which I think was the Blade Runner episode, wasn't it? Like
the von Gort machine or whatever it's called. Yeah, to detect whether you're a replicant or a human or not. Yeah.
And so they've got the crystals, but somehow they've not got this extra clue.
Yeah.
And so they're just sending people in and cannot open the door.
Yes, that's right.
And that kind of gives the true Gunters a bit more of an edge, because they're like, we know how to get in.
But we can't, because
we have to get at least 3 of us through the shield and to the door, and then we can get in.
So this is the big final plan that Wade
but then it all really goes to hell when IOI start getting really vicious in the real world again.
And they kill one of our heroes.
And they kill one of the Gunters, because at this point there are now... we've been following 5 Gunters.
That's right.
So we've got H... Artemis and Percival, but then there's also Daito and Shoto.
Yeah. Who are like Japanese.
2 Japanese hikikomori.
They're brothers, aren't they? Or...
Well, they call themselves brothers. It turns out that they're not. They
That's
actually
right,
just met at like a support group and decided to act as brothers, and they made their avatars look kind of like they were brothers.
That's right, yeah.
And they've been working together this whole time.
They sort of adventure as one. Yeah.
And then the 3 main characters get this note from Daito, or possibly Shoto, I can't remember which one.
It's from Shoto, because Daito is...
that Daito has been murdered.
In real life. By IOI.
And this kind of sets the whole end game in motion, because now they're like, wow, they are really serious about this. They've not just taken them down in game. No, they've blown up his apartment in Tokyo.
And so they end up in the real world all going to Ogden's place.
No, there is a section before that where Wade decides that the only way he can deal with this is to get inside IOI.
That's right.
So he creates a fake account for himself.
Yes, he gives himself debt.
He gives himself a massive debt with IOI. So they come break down the door
and arrest him.
And basically it turns out this world has indentured servitude now.
Yeah.
Where if you get into debt with any corporation, you will work for that corporation until your debt is paid off. And they come up with all kinds of elaborate ways to not let you ever pay off your debt. So yeah, he gives himself a massive debt, so they'll come bashing the door down and take him basically into IOI headquarters.
Yeah.
Which he then hacks from the inside, basically.
Yes.
So it turns out he's actually pretty technologically capable.
Yeah, who'd have thought? He actually got some real world skills.
Because he used to earn pocket money by fixing broken Oasis consoles, didn't he? He knows how the tech kind of works.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And it's this brilliant sequence where he's given himself like 3 days, and he's having to deal with like these panic attacks because he's never left his apartment since he arrived.
That's right, yeah.
And so then they kind of shove him off, and they put this kind of massive tracker thing on his ear, like he's a cow.
Yeah.
And give him this little booth where he's allowed to watch this one terrible sitcom over and over again.
It's like propaganda for IOI, isn't it?
And they were like, if you work really hard, you get access to other TV programs. Yay!
Great!
But yeah, then he hacks into his console and just starts downloading gigabyte after gigabyte of information from them, and he finds the video that they took of them killing Daito.
Yes.
And he's like,
really good.
He's got them, because this is hard evidence that they murdered someone in real life. He can't prove that they killed his family, because stacks just collapse sometimes.
Well, they blame it on a meth lab explosion, don't they? Yeah.
But he can now prove that they killed Daito.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically they put this plan into motion he manages to escape. He gets out by basically wiping his account and making the computer think that he's not indentured anymore. And it's just like, so his thing on his ear just kind of goes poof and explodes up, and he just steals a guard's uniform and walks out the front door.
Brilliant. Legend.
This is a brilliant moment. And then
that's when he realises how serious everything is. And they decide to meet up in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was this moment where he had to... It turns out everything's vending machines in this world, because I'm guessing nobody works in the real world. And he gets like a gun from a blister pack.
Yeah, defense vending machine. He gets like a bulletproof armor and a gun, doesn't he?
And some mace. And then he meets up with H.
Yeah,
and
they have the grand road trip.
Ogden kind of gathers them all together at his super mansion up in
Which
the Rocky
apparently
Mountains.
looks like Rivendell.
Yeah.
Yep.
And gives them the best possible gear and says, right, I'm going to give you a place to log in, but apart from that, I'm not helping, basically.
Yeah, and it has these amazing, like, booths in
Yeah.
his house, doesn't he? Which all have haptic chairs in them, which hover off the ground. So, like, there's an arm connected to the ceiling, and then you're connected to that arm, and then you can literally move in every direction with your arms and legs fully extended. And it's like, your full freedom of movement. So it's not even a suit now. This is next level beyond that. And then they log back in for the grand final plan to break through the shield.
And they basically put out the call. They, Percival puts his video of Daito being murdered out on the internet.
Puts it out, yeah.
He just so everybody sees it, and then he just says, "Come to this place at this time. We are breaking through the Sixer barrier." And then that's the grand final battle commences. Yeah. Which I know you're itching.
Well, I mean, it's funny. It's like, because I think for getting the crystal key or crystal key unlocks the ability to choose a mech. Yeah. Doesn't it? And by mech I mean giant Japanese fighting robot. Yeah. That you pilot from inside his chest. And I think it's funny because when he gets there, of course, loads of people have already been and gone. So some of the better, you could argue, mechs have already been taken. And so Mechagodzilla is taken, which turns out to be the villain's choice, obviously. And a few other really good ones are taken. So he ends up taking Leopardon, which is it's so weird. This is such an obscure reference, and I really don't understand why he makes this. But I kind of like it anyway, because there was a Japanese live-action TV show of Spider-Man called Spider-Man, which took the basic idea of a superhero who had spider powers, but changed it dramatically so that his suit came out of a watch, and he also could summon this huge mecha robot to fight.
Because I think maybe the Japanese just don't understand that things don't need mechas.
Exactly, everything has to have a mecha robot. Yeah. But weirdly, that this robot, although styled around Spider-Man, has like a spider web on its chest and everything, is called Leopardon, like a leopard. And I've no idea why. But anyway, he chooses Leopardon from this list of mecha, and it appears as a little toy, doesn't it? Which he puts in his inventory. And he doesn't really know why he's unlocked that, but everyone else has got one who's ahead of him, so he assumes it must be important. Anyway, this final battle is, of course, a giant mecha battle in space, where everyone is piloting classic mecha from either anime, live-action shows, or, I don't know, anything else, manga or something. So our villain, I forgot his name again, Nolan Sorrento, is piloting Mechagodzilla, and our hero Wade is in Leopardon, which is this weird, bulky Spider-Man themed robot, and they have this huge kick-ass battle in space, and they win, which is cool. Yeah, and
but
they're all
something
things.
of a Pyrrhic victory to start with, it seems, because it turns out that there's the Sixers have basically a nuke.
Yes, the Cataclysm. Yes, that's true, and they're threatening to what will happen is if they detonate it, all avatars in that zone, I think it's huge, will be killed and will be defeated. Yeah. So as much as they win the battle, and the three of them get to the door, Artemis, H, and Wade get to the door, they open the door, the crystal gate, and then suddenly the Cataclysm goes off. Yeah. And there's this noise which is apparently described as the sound of the universe breaking in half, which sounds like a big noise. Yeah. And everyone just drops dead. Yeah. But, amazingly, hooray, Percival's quarter that he got from completing the ultimate game of Pac-Man is an extra life. Yay! And of everyone, he's the only one to get back up.
So he ends up just standing in a grey cube.
Yes, because everything's destroyed, except for the gate.
The gate is still there, but it's like 200 feet in the air.
Yeah, exactly. You can't get up there, but luckily Artemis has flying shoes, and artifacts can't be destroyed by the Cataclysm, so he puts those shoes on and flies. He's got one chance to fly through the gate, he does it, hooray! But now there's challenges on the other side of the gate as well. And the funny thing is that, yes, okay, everyone's dead, including, well, not dead, but all the avatars are dead, but more Sixers are coming by the minute, because of course they can just churn them out.
That's why the Sixers were willing to set it off, because it doesn't matter that those avatars are dead.
Because 300,000 more
there's
around
hundreds
the corner.
more, they'll just keep coming.
So he has to complete the challenges within the Crystal Gate, knowing that just behind him are all the Sixers. If he makes one mistake, that's it. Yeah. It's all over. But amazingly, he gets through the challenges, which one of which is another flick sync where he has to say things in time with the movie, and another one is a video game Tempest, which I did play a little bit of back in the day, which is really hard, but he aces it obviously because he's a legend. And then he finally gets through into Halliday's office. Yeah. It's a reproduction of Halliday's office. And I'm pretty sure that a avatar of Anorak appears after he's got to complete something. He's got to complete
his office has samples of every computer game console.
That's right. He has to choose the right one,
and he has to pick the right one in the right game.
And he picks Adventure because Adventure was the first video game ever to have an Easter egg in it. Yeah. And he boosts that up, and he goes to the room where the Easter egg was hidden. And then at that point an egg appears on screen, and he can actually reach into the screen and take that egg, and that's when Halliday appears. Yeah. Well, an automated AI of Halliday, who gives him the big final prize. which I can't remember.
The prize is basically he gets all of Anorak's powers. So his avatar is given admin privileges and boosted up to infinity level, and
of course he gets all the money as well.
And he's basically that his account is given all the privileges of Halliday, and there's a team of lawyers apparently flying to his location to
right.
Yeah. And there's just this great moment, I thought, which was a really nice ending, because it has kind of a slightly bittersweet ending
it
to
does,
it.
It does, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
It's this really sweet ending where Halliday, the model of Halliday, which is like the last time he's going to appear, basically, kind of pulls back this little bit of curtain or something, and there's a great big self-destruct button behind it.
Oh yeah, the big
and
button,
like,
yeah.
It's like, this is now your responsibility. If you think
the world would be better off without the Oasis,
hit this button and everything will be deleted.
But he doesn't do it yet, does he?
No,
the
I think
book doesn't end with us knowing what he does.
No, the book ends with him going back out into the world, and they're at Ogden's mansion, and he and Artemis are talking. And he and Artemis had previously spoken about what they would do with the money.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And
Artemis was very altruistic, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was like, I'm going to buy food for everybody.
Yeah,
and Wade is very much like, his original plan was, I'm going to build a spaceship and leave.
Yes. And just go off into space with loads of video games.
But what he decides to do is he decides to split the winnings with H, Artemis, and Shoto. So they all get the same kind of privileges, and they all get control over that money.
That's cool.
And so the book kind of ends with, well, we'll have to do something. The world is screwed, and we now have the power to change it. That's cool. And it's like that you never find out what they've done.
No.
What they do.
But it'd be better that way. It's better that way, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, there could be a whole second book of them trying to fix the world. I like to think that maybe it's kind of like the Oasis can keep running as like a kind of human cradle, like just keep them
somewhere to hang out going, while we're working on
and then
world.
We'll fix the world, and then when everybody's ready to go back into the world, we'll shut down the Oasis.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, it's never stated that that's what's going to happen. And
no, and I think that story probably won't ever be told, because the important part of the story is the bit that's in the book, obviously. And I remember really liking that ending, because I was getting to the point where we had this massive mecha battle in space, and I was just like, where is this going to go? Like, he's either going to get the great prize, at which point, okay, what happens then? Or he's not going to, which would be incredibly anticlimactic. And I don't really know. I couldn't predict it at that point at all. And I really liked that, and then I really liked what he ended up doing at the end, and everything.
Because I really thought, because the book kind of opens with this description of it's Wade telling his story from like after the story has happened.
Yeah,
he's going back and he's like, there's a lot of rumours about me. 10 years after this happened, the scoreboard lit up and my name appeared on it. I want to set the story straight. I want to set the record straight. Yeah, and this is him setting the record straight. And I was thinking, from that, all we know is that he is the first name on the scoreboard. We know that he's going to be the first name on the scoreboard. He doesn't. I was kind of wondering if maybe Artemis would be the one to find it, or just one of the others, or maybe one of the Sixers would miraculously turn out to actually be a Gunter that had just been working
that's
undercover or something. I mean, I was kind of prepared for Wade to not be the one who found it, but he was. Yeah. So that's cool.
Classic hero.
But then it was a nice touch that he's like, I'll split the prize with the others,
and that was good, because that showed that he had been on something of an arc, because from the beginning, as you say, his fantasy was just to be really selfish, naff off into space with a load of games and books, and never talk to anyone again, because that had been his life. His life was crap, people were crap to him, and he just wanted to be on his own and do what he loved. But then by the end, as much as some of it was motivated by falling in love with Artemis and etc., he had become a little bit more of a more well-rounded person.
And I think he realised that the Oasis kind of presented too much power for one person now. I mean, he's basically the most important person in the world.
And people being killed over it,
yeah.
And he didn't like that at all. And he didn't like the fact, I think, that, it's amazing that Halliday predicted all of this as well. Yeah. Like, he knew that this would happen. I mean, in some ways, he kind of caused it all to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder how much Halliday actually thought about it.
Yeah.
Because if he thought, I mean, like I said, I think it's made pretty clear that he wasn't particularly socially adept.
No.
He was a very classic geek.
Yeah, definitely. He's an Anorak.
And in that case, it's like, would someone like that have predicted the Sixers? Like, because if he had, if someone maybe a bit more savvy might have predicted something like the Sixers coming into existence and put provisos in to make sure that couldn't happen.
Yeah, so it could only be like legitimate players.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, they're playing the game, but they're going to be.
Well, as you say, it has all the hallmarks of someone who thought about how exciting it would be to have this big treasure hunt, rather than thinking about the real world applications of that much money and that much power. People will do anything for that. And And I think that's what's so great, is that while this is essentially a story about nerds battling with like nostalgia and giant robots, there is also this sort of he could have so easily just fallen into it just being all of that. And a lot of the critics of this book say that it's just all nostalgia and nothing else. And I don't believe that. I believe there is a good story there underneath all of the nostalgia.
I do feel maybe at sometimes the nostalgia overtakes it a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's very much the voice of Wade.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're looking at it through
he is
those
a
eyes.
nerd.
Yeah.
And the fact that he adds footnotes to his own like, descriptions of things.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
he refers to people as poseurs, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he wants you to know. It's that classic nerd thing of he wants you to know that he knows.
Yeah.
He wants you to know exactly how detailed his knowledge is.
Yeah, and if anything, I think that completely excuses like what you're saying about the overwhelming nostalgia in places, because all it does is add more to Wade's character. You get to know Wade very well in that story, like better than you get to know some other heroes who tell their stories from first person perspectives. And it's challenging to tell a story from a first person perspective and get you to know that protagonist, but you really know Wade.
He's very clear about who he is.
Yeah.
It's like he knows, he has no illusions really, and he comes down quite hard on his own sort of past
self. He's self-deprecating,
like,
but he's also arrogant and confident as well at the same time. It's really weird. But he's likeable. He's definitely likeable. Yeah.
I think it's going to be great fun. I'm looking forward to the film.
I'm looking forward to the film now, definitely, yeah.
Did you know, by the way, a bit of trivia I was reading earlier, did you know that there is an Easter egg in this book?
I did know this, yes. And
which was apparently won like 4 years ago.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Because there's a DeLorean up for grabs, isn't there?
Yes, and somebody has won it.
Really?
Like in 2013, I think they won it. So that was something I was not aware of, and I read the book far too late to have any chance of getting the Easter egg.
Well, again,
but
audiobook.
The Easter egg was apparently hiding in the video game references.
Oh,
so it was actually like the Easter egg hunt in the book, the fictional Easter egg hunt in the book, was also the Easter egg hunt in real life.
Because I remember hearing that the first stage was in the book, so you had to find you had to solve some clues in the book, and then you get a code that you put in online, and then the next stages appear on the internet, like real world internet, our world internet, and then you get to the end of, and it was apparently long-winded.
Well, I mean, like I said, I got into the whole thing far too late, but I love that idea.
Yeah, there's a real scoreboard as well. Like people had copper keys and everything.
It's like one of my favourite books as a kid was called Masquerade, which was from the 70s, and it was a puzzle book, but the puzzle led you to something in the real world. And my dad had bought the book in like the 70s, and I just loved it because it had pictures and little riddles, and you could find
cool.
and like it was slightly surreal kind of story that ran through it about a hare trying to catch the moon to give it a message from the sun.
Okay.
And yeah, I just loved it, but it was years later that I realised that there is a puzzle in that book, and it will lead you to a location in a field in Somerset somewhere, where the guy who wrote the book had actually buried like a jewelled hare.
Wow.
And somebody found it like in the 80s sometime. But I loved that, and just the idea that maybe I could have figured it out. Yeah. And I did try, but I think that my teenage me wasn't quite up to it. Maybe I'll try again one day if I can ever find the book.
You still got it? Yeah.
I don't know. It was it'd be at my parents' house somewhere.
Yeah. Cool,
but yeah, no, but I love that sort of thing. Like the kind of almost augmented reality.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, I think. Yeah, the book's serving two purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
That is very cool. But yeah, we are almost out of time. This has gone well, I think.
It has, yeah,
anything
enjoyed
else
that.
you would like to add?
I just want to add that I kind of want to read it again now. Now that we've sort of talked it all out, you've reminded me of things that I didn't remember. I've maybe reminded you of some things you didn't remember. And I feel like I want to get back into it, read it again, and then just look forward to the film.
I am looking forward to the film.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Definitely.
I mean, it's the kind of thing that could go horribly wrong.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's got all the potential.
It could rely so much on the nostalgia that the plot line kind of gets hidden.
I think what we've got to remember is it's in very safe hands with Spielberg.
Yeah. And as you said, a lot of the properties that it's going to be parodying and referencing are actually owned by Spielberg.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's perfect. It's a match made in heaven. It's so good.
So that was First Chair Fantasy. We are Big Punch Studios. If you like what you hear, everything we do is supported by our Patreon. So check it out at www.patreon.com/BigPunchStudios. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are going to be, we keep saying this, but we're going to be putting more stuff up.
Definitely.
More videos have started to appear. We're getting better at this.
We are, yes.
And it's not all going to be just narcissistic Watchers package stuff.
Definitely more on its way. Definitely.
So yeah, we have more to come. Like, subscribe, all that nonsense. And hopefully, see you in a month's time.
Yeah.
Bye.